So you can manually specify scan flags for TCP connections. This is rare. Yeah, I will tell you the truth. I didn't use it ever, really. Okay, it's just maybe in the lab. So this is idle. You will try to identify zombie processes in zombie hosts in this way, and everything else is quite exotic. Yeah. So let's focus on what you can do in order to specify UDP and TCP scan modes and skip to port specification. So here you can just do this -p and give it port ranges. What does port ranges mean? You can give one port. The space between this switch and the port number doesn't really matter. You can do ranges. Yeah, you can do 1 to 6500, 65,500 and 35, but yeah, I'm old. I do not always remember this number of possible ports in the system, mainly because this -p switch accepts the dash after it in order to pass the same notion to NMAP. So if you just put -p and then dash again, it will think of it as your command to scan every possible port on the host. Okay, you can randomize that, I guess, but I cannot find it really here. Yeah, maybe there is an undocumented switch. I know. If I remember that, I will tell you that, of course. But yeah, for now, just let's assume that everything is scanned in order, and you can put this order here. Yeah, so you can just give it this prefix of protocol definition. So first scan UDP column, and then number of ports, then TCP, and port ranges. Okay, so everything is here. Scan TCP as connect, and then scan TCP as syn. Okay, so this is like we are giving it -p and then listing what could follow after this S switch. Yeah, so we assume that S switch is there, and then this is kind of tricky, but I think you get the idea. Yeah, so then like it is -su and the ports, and then comma -st, capital T, and the ports, and -s, capital S, and the port. Okay, like this. What is capital F? It's used early in your career, maybe sometimes, just to look around, So very few ports, very popular ones. Sumping, scanning. So this is not used when you really get the grasp of what you can do with NMAP and you start to be very specific of what you ask it to do. Yeah. So now I remember that by default the ports are randomized, but you can do that in order. Yeah, by specifying this -r switch. Okay, so there is a number of top ports saved somewhere in the shared directory, I guess. So you can take this switch and specify number of top ports you want to be scanned. Okay, so top port 100 will just scan 100 most popular ports on the internet. So and you can be more specific. You can just give this percentage ratio and scans anything that is seen on the internet more frequently than that. I don't know the sources that NMAP development team uses for this kind of information, but I believe there are some. Shodan, for example, can be one source of very precise information on that statistics. Okay, so now to the service and version fingerprinting. Yeah, so this is the most important switch here. The -s capital V will try to figure out what are the versions of all open services. Yeah, and you can provide different other switches to it. You can version trace, you can do all, you can do light, you can define the intensity, but this is not really important. You can play with it. You can see what different results you get, yeah, when you do combinations of these options, but for me it didn't ever make any really important difference. Yeah, so if you are running something on a cron base, yeah, so you just do a scheduled job of some scanning, some monitoring, maybe in order to get more precise results you have to configure it in such high level of precision, but for a manual task, for a penetration test, this is not really important. You will still have to figure it out in your head, and what -s capital V gives you is more than enough for that. Now to the script scan. So some basic number of scripts based on dynamically identified by the number of open ports you have discovered, yeah, will be run if you do -s capital C. Okay, so script default will do that. You can identify scripts manually, and you can do it in wildcarded manner. So you just give it some prefix like HTTP, then dash, and then give it asterisk, and it will go through all the scripts it has starting with HTTP and apply them. This is not a good thing to do because still there are things that are identifying vulnerabilities, yeah, and there are things that are trying to exploit vulnerabilities, yeah. So that's risky, but let's see what we can do about that in this next video. And if scripts allow passing arguments, you can do that either by the command line or in a file. Script.adb may be also important because Nmap is not updated really frequently, but update.db just allows you to grab the new scripts or the changes to the scripts that happened recently. Okay. For OS detection, yeah, this is -O that will perform basic OS detection based on the fingerprints it collects from your hosts and comparing it to the database they already have. And do not rely on that really strongly, but the classes of operating systems will be identified really precisely. Okay. This is timing. So everything you need to know before you start playing with all these possible ways to limit your rates, to increase your parallelism and so on. This is really flexible. You can play with it for hours and see what happens. But the fastest way to do that is to just select these modes. Yeah. So on the average corporate network, -T4 will be or -T3 if it's really spread it out the globe, yeah, will be okay. T5 is okay for something you are directly connected to. I mean, physically, yeah. So that's the only reason to do that, yeah. So just assuming that you will have really fast connection to everything you scan. Or you can drop everything that doesn't respond in a fast manner. that's another use for that. But still, remember that if you want to go under the radar, you can do T1 or even T0, I guess. So that's possible, but it will be really slow. Like you are scanning UDP, yeah. That's not a good thing, but you may try that. Firewall evasion. There are different ways to obscure your communication, to use different types of decoys, but the most importantly, you have to understand that firewalls are really doing a good job on identifying all these activities. So this is the cat and mouse game, and unfortunately you are the mouse, yeah. So you will possibly want to see what happens if you change all these parameters, but remember that any spoofed information, for example, it will result in you not getting any response back most probably. Okay, so do that, try it out and see what happens, but do not rely on that really strongly. You are a penetration tester, you don't have to be so obscure as the bad guys are, yeah, but try to do that. That's really interesting technical stuff. You can do Wireshark on the background and see what traffic is generated and what's going on. Okay, output. One of the most important parts, please pay attention. You can save different formats like this, -O, capital N, capital X, and capital S, and capital G. S, I don't know why it's there. It's format called script kiddies. It will just transliterate everything to late speak, I guess, but yeah, it's there for some reason. So normally you will use this -O capital A, so it will save it in this base file name, yeah, with the different extensions for normal output, for XML, and for greppable format. What it is, we will see shortly, but in short, this is line by line. Greppable means line by line separation of results, so you can really grep it. XML will be what it is, XML, and normal output is what you normally see when you run NMap. Okay, so still it will produce some output to console, but different verbose output and everything that you see on the console will be mirrored to a separate file. You can increase verbosity, you can increase debug level, you can do that while you run NMap as well. I will show you how. And you can resume the scan. Once you generate these output files, you can resume the scan when you stop it for some reason, or it just crashes, which also happens sometimes, rarely, but sometimes it does. You can just put this file name. I guess the normal output will be okay for that, because it contains this header, this first line that contains all the options that NMap has been run with. And yeah, it will not start from the very moment you have stopped it, yeah, or it has crashed, yeah, but it will start from the latest portion. All the time NMap is run, it is splitting large scopes into portions. Normally it depends on the speeding, on the timing parameters you give it. So by default it's 4096 hosts, I guess. We'll check it out, and it will start from the last block of this size, yeah, the one it has crashed while scanning. Okay, you can configure style sheets for XML output. You can experiment with that, but this is the most important. Always save your results to files while you're scanning, and you will be able to resume that, and you will be able to process that by different means. At least you will parse that by command line utilities, or Perl, or Python, or whatever you like. And this is some miscellaneous options, for example, to use IPv6 if your client does that, which is also rare nowadays. And this is like a combination of options. Yeah, this is we call it aggressive scanning, and it will do OS detection, version detection, script scanning, and trace route. So if you want to do something really fast and have some basic information about large number of hosts, you can do that. You can give it -A and see what happens. Okay, so now, yeah, so these are some examples, how you can start, how you can ping a large number of hosts, yeah, ping scan them, and how can you just, how you can randomize 10,000 random hosts on the internet, because we don't see any notion of IPs or networks here, and scan them assuming they are up by the TCP port 80. So by default -P assumes that the ports you give it are TCP ports, and based on the mode you run nmap at, like whether you are a root user or you are not, it will by default scan it by synscan for root and by connect scan for non-root user. Interesting, right? So I hope you have collected a lot of new information from what we have just reviewed. If you knew Nmap before, I hope you had some new facts provided by me. Now let's proceed to using it and seeing what are the valuable results it produces.